All right, I am in the position of the presenters, which is a little awkward. Welcome to the main event, our 9th Lion's Den. Yes, woo! Companies on this stage over the past 9 years have gone on to raise over $10 million in capital, committed on stage, most all of it closed off stage, with actually even increasing numbers of participants. That doesn't mean, by the way, we're going to see 3 companies walk away with capital today, but I'm telling you that there were some incredible presentations today. So a round of applause for all of our presenters, many of them in this room. We had record attendance this year. If it was visible during lunch and other aspects, and we're grateful for all of your participation, all of your support. Yeah, success begets success, and it starts with the entrepreneurial energy that we feel in the rooms, that we see in this community and beyond. So we're grateful for your participation. I want to once again thank several people very quickly. The whole PACT team, led by Cheryl Jarvis-Johnson, did an absolutely incredible job. Please, a round of applause again. We had over 100 volunteers. We had over 100 conference chairs, boards, and committees, and of course, all of our sponsors. We had over 60 sponsors who really stepped up because they wanted to support this community and share their allegiance with what we're trying to do here. So again, a round of applause for all of those individuals as well. All right, so last but not least, I want to thank our sponsors of the Lion's Den. And that is Cozen O'Connor and RSM, 2 firms that have been with this program specifically since the beginning. And here to kick us off are partners from Cozen O'Connor, Michael Crossy and Chris McDemus. Please welcome them.
Thanks, Dean. So I'm Chris McDemus. This is Mike Crossy. We're the co-chairs of Cozen's Emerging Business and Venture Capital Group. As Dean mentioned, we're a founding sponsor of PACT, the Capital Conference, and specifically the Lion's Den. As a result, we get to work very closely with the Lions in helping them structure their investments, hopefully that are made here today. And so we'd like to thank PACT, Dean and his team, for all the hard work that went in today. It's been a great event with obviously a ton of attendance, and thank all of you for your participation.
Yeah, and Chris and I have spent most of our careers, and Cozen's been working for decades with entrepreneurs and investors in the region. As Chris said, we're thrilled to partner with PACT, and any way that we can provide resources, connectivity, we're happy to be as helpful as we can. And I think you guys are here to see the pitches, though, so cue the video.
Thank you.
Many stories were told today. Stories of innovation, stories of promise. And from the pack of these remarkable stories, only 3 will move on. Welcome to the Lion's Den, PACT's Lion's Den. Our lions are on the hunt for the next big idea.
How quick can you close? How quick?
Can I say an absolute almost yes?
Now at its 9th year, PACT's Lion's Den brings together the region's most successful entrepreneurs and investors to support the region's promising startups.
Meet our lions. David Edelman.
Know what your business is worth. Don't come at me with some BS value. I'm not gonna shoot it down.
Paul Graziani.
It's being able to respond to the twists and turns that get thrown at you.
Dr. Robert Corotto.
I look at the team and I say, is this a team that I feel confident, especially at early stages, can get the job done?
Daniel Goldsmith.
I want companies that know how to grow through the stages and horizons that can lead to a big company, and recognize that there's a lot of transitions and growth points at those different stages.
Ryan Hickey.
So I get more focused on kind of the core of the idea and what is it actually trying to accomplish.
Our lions are no kitty cats. Now it's time to find the next big idea. Are you ready? Ready to enter the lion's den? PACT's Lion's Den. Please welcome moderator Mark R. Lederman, General Partner, New Spring Capital.
Welcome. Thank you all for coming. It's great to see such a packed room. First of all, before we start today, just give one round of applause for all of our presenting companies today. They did a great job. My name is Mark Lederman, and I'm with New Spring Capital. New Spring is a private equity firm headquartered just outside of the city in Radnor, PA, managing about $3.5 billion across a technology strategy, healthcare strategy, lower middle market mezzanine debt fund, and buyout strategy as well. It's my honor to be the moderator here for the 9th, or I guess 10th, Lion's Den. So as you heard, we have selected 3 companies. There was over 40 companies that presented today, most of which expressed interest in being considered for selection today in the Lion's Den. And we ultimately were able to narrow it down. It was a very tough decision to 3 companies. So please welcome and help me congratulate the 3 companies that will be presenting today. Rego, Josh Mastromato, Fashion Kind, Nina Farron, and Impact Rack, Dan Fedin. So many of you have probably seen the show Shark Tank. Unfortunately, because of all the lawyers involved in this conference, we were not able to call this Shark Tank, but we are the Lion's Den. Very similar, but actually I would say much more difficult for the entrepreneurs to navigate. When you watch that TV show and you watch the 10 or so minutes that make it to television, that's edited down for many cases over an hour of presentation. You're gonna get to see the sausage get made. Each company will have 20 minutes to come up on stage, give their 6 to 8 minute pitch, and then make their ask from the entrepreneur or from the Lions in terms of what investment they're seeking. The Lions then will have another 10 minutes or so to have Q&A, ask probing questions, and decide do they think this is an opportunity that they might be interested in putting their capital behind. And then in the last few minutes, we'll see if we can strike a deal. Unlike the real Shark Tank, where only one shark can walk away with the deal, in this case, we're much more collaborative. We encourage cooperation amongst the Lions. And so in some cases, if a deal is struck, you might have 1, 2, or even all 5 Lions decide to invest some of their own capital into that deal. As Dean alluded to, we've had much success in the past in getting companies to at least one win over this tough crowd and walk away with an investment. At the end of the 20 minutes, if a deal is struck, it would be a handshake deal subject to normal legal due diligence and other things, but I will say, in all the years we've been doing this, we've closed all but one of the transactions that have been struck on stage. So these guys have come here today with the intent of trying to find an interesting investment and successfully navigating one. Lastly, I would just say, as we're going through this, just remember it's very tough to do this in real time, so give the entrepreneurs a big round of applause at the end of each session. With that, let's get started. Let's welcome to the stage our first victim, entrepreneur, Rego, Josh Mastromato.
I'm a little shorter than you, so I have to pull this down a bit. Thank you, everyone, for the opportunity. So my name is Josh Mastromato. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Rego, and we are building the climate solutions marketplace for the built environment. So if you were moving apartments today, would you know what to do with this unwanted stuff? It seems so simple, yet tenants everywhere still struggle to get this stuff out on their own, and they leave it behind, making it the building owner and property manager's problem. So then building owners are left to sacrifice their own resources managing somebody else's unwanted stuff. It then leads to delays in renting out the apartment to someone new, and delays in staff time who need to use their own physical labor to move these things around the building, or property managers who still need to use pen, paper, and phone calls to figure out where these things should go. Not to mention the unnecessary waste management fees that accrue from these things overflowing dumpsters or our sidewalks. It's death by 1,000 knives, and now with millions of people moving every year in the US, this is directly contributing to the over 12 million tons of furniture that get sent to landfills or South Philly bridges each year in the US. That's equal to about 80 miles worth of couches, and it's a greenhouse gas equivalent to over 7 million cars on the road per year. But why is that relevant? Well, it's well documented that the built environment contributes about 40% of the world's CO2 emissions, compared to about 2% from airplanes. And although that stems from a number of factors in these buildings, waste is such a tangible thing for people to grasp onto, and so stricter environmental mandates are coming as soon as 2025 for waste diversion, and many people are simply looking to jump ahead. But even if we move the climate talk aside for a moment, building owners are missing a golden opportunity to better allocate their staff resources and earn new revenue by offering their tenants a better removal solution. And that's where we come in. Rego works with building owners to unlock previously overlooked profits through untraditional methods. And we're starting with junk removal. We work with these buildings to integrate our junk scheduling software, where we can predict when items will need to get picked up, then automate the removal process without needing to get their staff involved. So that means our software is booking elevators, it's communicating with tenants, and even scheduling the junk removal company. All of this so that units turn over faster and the property staff can focus on more important work in the building. Plus, we introduce revenue sharing with building owners and provide them with waste diversion reporting so they can see everything that we keep out of a landfill from their building. And once we're in the building, the way that tenants use us is very simple. They access Rego's platform where they take a photo of what they need picked up, and that's it. Their job is done because, again, Rego software is automating the back-end process so that they don't have to do anything. They can get on with their move. And that process starts with our computer vision model. So as tenants take those photos, our model catalogs the items that need to get picked up, not including the cat on the couch, but identifies where those items should go based on things like usability or material composition. That's important for a number of factors like automated routing, but it also allows us to easily redirect items to local nonprofits and recycling centers instead of landfills at scale, which was one of the biggest hurdles for companies who have tried this in the past. Then based on a number of other factors, our algorithm matches a third-party hauling company to go to the building and complete that tenant's pickup. And that's great for us because that allows us to focus on scaling into new apartment buildings rather than buying trucks and hiring labor. A real-life example of this working is with one of our first high-rise partners in University City. Within a month, we helped their staff save over 30 hours of time during a busy move-out month, and we cut junk removal costs for tenants who were moving out by as much as 50%. And then in the back end, we redirected over 1 ton of unwanted furniture to local nonprofits. And our goal is to acquire apartments because they can put us in front of thousands of customers in one shot, where we can collect dozens of data points on this audience and still generate revenue from tenants who need pickups. Ultimately, we are working with building owners to include the cost of Rego into lease agreements, which is similar to what you see in things like package delivery services and newer amenity types in your Class A apartment buildings. And this isn't a new problem. We're also not the first to try and solve it, but we are proving that our new approach can work and it can scale quickly. Just this summer, we signed up 19 apartment buildings right here in Philadelphia, and since opening, we've redirected over 100,000 pounds of unwanted furniture to local nonprofits. But the most exciting for us is that we have the opportunity to 10x our growth within the next 12 months on our current pipeline. We're already working with some really big names in this space, and some of the world's biggest REITs contacted us this summer directly to talk about pilot opportunities for Rego in large chunks of their portfolios. So that obviously represents a great revenue opportunity, but also expedites our scaling process where we can acquire more apartment buildings, faster than anyone else, and then look at expanding service offerings and servicing adjacent markets. So for example, a lot of these groups are the same groups that also own your commercial office space. And given the outlook of commercial real estate in the next decade or so, there are going to be a lot of renovations happening. So we're actually already going to be beta testing our software for commercial use cases in 2024 with a $14 billion company. Quick introductions to the team. So I've now spent my entire life in hauling and construction. I started working at 12 years old as free labor for my stepdad's construction company, so I didn't have much of a choice. But I fell in love with it and really never stopped. I was also fortunate enough in my 20s to be a professional athlete where I learned the dynamics of building high-performing teams. That's why I've recruited people like Brandon to be my co-founder, who specializes in building AI. And prior to Rego, he helped another startup scale to over 400 employees while he was in college. Aubrey and Brianna are both circular economy experts, also coming to us from great local startups organizations. and we have some of the leading climate tech and prop tech angel investors and advisors helping us moving forward. And so our goal for our SAFE round is 500,000 total, of which we've closed 285,000 on a rolling basis over the past 12 months or so from accelerators and angel investors. So the remainder of these funds will help us unlock more of our current pipeline while continuing to build momentum with our larger pilot opportunities and making the necessary product adjustments in order to service those customers. So thank you all again for the opportunity. It's a huge honor to be up here and looking forward to answering your questions.
So Josh, David, you could probably answer this question as well, but I own an apartment building. I've got some furniture that's left over. Couldn't I just pay 1-800, get junk out of here, and deduct it from the security deposit and just go my happy way and be done this and not have all this confusion and conversation? I mean, you know, help me understand why someone wants to do this as opposed to just that.
Yeah, that's a good question. So the challenge that you described with the buildings that we're servicing is that they have really high annual turnover rates. And people are moving out at different points in the month. So it's not like what you used to see in the past where everybody moves out at the end of the month. People are moving out at all different times depending on when they moved in. So they would, in theory, need to then call 1-800-GOT-JUNK multiple times to come back that month, which takes up an enormous amount of their time just booking the company, plus the unknown, time frame of when are they going to show up? Do we have the elevator booked? Does another resident already have it for their move out? It just ends up clogging up the building when they don't do it in an efficient way, and essentially just try to make it where they're going to upcharge the resident for leaving it behind, and going through the back and forth argument of whether or not the tenant's going to be okay with you taking money from their security deposit.
How do you price it?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Do you price it by the room, the pound, the tonnage, what it looks like? How do you?
We're currently pricing per item, and then we're getting volume in the building or in the zip code. That allows us to present something to the haulers where they're still getting their volume in the truck, but it's driving down the cost for the tenants in that building.
And then the employees doing this, are they yours? Are they subcontractors? Like, how does what's the whole workflow?
Yeah, so they're third-party verified hauling companies. So they're actual companies, not like, guys with pickup trucks like you've seen some other companies try in the past. So yeah, it's all, subcontractors with that language.
How do you see the dollar flow from the renter versus the apartment owner?
That's a good question. So we'd love to get this included into lease agreements like other amenities, but in the short term, since we're generating revenue on pickups, I'll focus on that right now. So the tenants pay us directly through the portal. So once they snap the photos, it gives them that price quote in real time. It's usually a no-brainer for them to say yes, and then they pay us directly, through our portal.
Are the tenants hearing? Sorry, guys. Are the tenants hearing about you from the building owner, like pre-move out? If you have a bunch of shit in your place and you want to get it out, call you, or just word of mouth?
Correct. So it's coming directly from the building. So they can include us in their amenity portals and also their move-in and move-out packets. Ultimately, we're working to even smooth that over where it's just built into the building. We come on that cadence when people are moving out. They don't have to do anything. But in the short term, it's been those packets and the amenity portals.
So what's your experience been on the average cost of a move out? Because, clearly someone's moving out of an apartment, they're probably moving into another apartment or setting, and they're taking a good deal of that furniture with them. So what's that look like?
It's a good point to bring up. Most of the buildings that we're servicing have demographics where the people that are moving aren't bringing anything with them. So they're going through weeks on Facebook Marketplace, the cork board, and all that stuff, and still have, half an apartment left. So our average order is currently about $230 on our, intro pricing. So we did some discounts in the building, but what's nice about that is since we're charging per item, we can make nominal increases per item that will drastically increase our margins without impacting the customer too much.
And how does it compare to the average monthly rate that your current customer base is paying?
The average monthly rate.
The monthly rent. Like, you're saying if they're not taking a lot of furniture with them, I want to understand the demographic of the current customer, because if the rent's $400 a month and you're asking them to pay $250, yeah, snowball's chance in hell, I'm just saying.
I see what you're saying. So we're servicing right now Class A apartment buildings, typically with more than 300 units. and they're typically in denser urban areas. And so the price ranges for the apartments are starting at almost $2,000 for studios. So costs for them in these cases and amenities aren't huge issues. But yeah, there are early adopters, those Class A buildings.
Josh, do you consider owning at some point, having more control over the haulers as opposed to using a third party just from a client experience or brand perspective?
That's a good question. So we go through a very extensive checklist to make sure that we have the right haulers with the right buildings to really build that brand. But ultimately, we don't want to get into buying trucks or hiring our own labor so that we can continue scaling. Because acquiring a lot of this apartment space will bring value in adjacent opportunities as well. And so we don't want to get into the game of buying trucks and worrying about all the headaches that come there.
What's the moat around your business? Is it the app? Is it your relationships with these haulers? Like, why can't someone else do this?
That's a good question. So a lot of it is the relationships with the haulers and the knowledge of how to actually make this operate in a way that makes sense for the haulers. So when we spoke with a lot of your bigger junk removal companies, they all expressed steep challenges in trying to operate within multifamily communities, but recognized it was a market they wanted to service, but they simply charged more because they just didn't work well with the building. And so we consistently heard, if you can smooth those operations over for us, we'd be happy to partner and look at helping you guys scale into new markets and things like that.
Josh, you first started selling this past year, right? That was the first in market?
We opened last year as a direct-to-consumer company first.
Okay. What have you learned over this past year getting into market, and how has that influenced your strategy for scale moving forward?
We first learned that direct-to-consumer is really challenging. But all kidding aside, when we looked at our own data, because we knew we had to make an adjustment, we realized the majority of our pickups were coming from multifamily communities, and many times the property manager was calling us directly to schedule the pickup. And so then when we also looked at those numbers, our margins dramatically increased when we were servicing apartment buildings, and our operations were smoother, meaning the actual time of pickup went faster than if we went to a single-family home, which surprised us because we thought there was going to be a lot more moving pieces with the elevator and things like that. And then we realized as we went to different conferences and talked to more property managers and people higher up the chain in these larger property management groups, that there was a need for this almost everywhere in the country.
In your deck, you projected losses through 25. So could you help us understand what are the investments you look to be making over this period of time, and why are you still projecting losses a couple years out?
That's a good question. So a lot of the losses come in staff overhead. We need to hire. Right now it's 2 of us full-time and then 2 part-time. So a lot of those losses were in overhead for product development support, but then also some roles like sales. A lot of the prop tech industry is very relationship-driven. And so we have identified what people we would like to bring in and help us there. But we're not losing anything on the actual pickups in the apartment buildings. We used to lose when we were doing the direct-to-consumer. So operationally, that's a positive sign for us to scale. And eventually we get past that inflection point where we don't need to hire more staff and we can just keep growing.
How long does the 500K get you to?
That's a good question. So the remainder of the funds will give us another 14 to 16 months.
Sorry, is that 500K more you're trying to raise, or you already raised 285 of 500? I'm trying to.
It was technically a typo on screen. We're actually trying to raise 750 total. I apologize for that mistake, getting an old one on there. So yeah, it's a little bit over 400,000 that is left for us to raise. So that will give us closer to 24 months of runway. If we stay this small team, we could obviously be more aggressive and take in more funding, hire a little bit more, and make a bigger push. But that's where it would get us now.
And that's a safe with a $5 million post-money cap?
Correct, yeah, the valuation cap and 20% discount.
So help me understand how you got to 5. You're 4 years out and you're still, not profitable, and there's a real service component to this. So it's not like you've got a technology alone that is incredibly scalable once you get over your operational leverage. Mm-hmm. So your margins can go up, but they go up with your cost. You're not doing this. Convince me as to why 5 is a number I want to believe.
Josh, when you answer that, could you also clarify the revenue share with the business owners as part of that answer to Rob?
For sure. So I'll jump into both to talk about the valuation. So that was a deep talk with help and insight from our current angel investors. To understand, what the market looks like for, companies similar in this space. And we felt like given the, traction of the 19 apartment buildings, plus the operations that we've been able to pull off even prior to those apartment buildings, that we were pricing ourselves very fairly in the market. We looked at a lot of companies that were really overvaluing themselves at an early stage, and we wanted to make sure that this was a win-win for the people that were going to jump in and help us in what you described as an operationally challenging business. But again, knowing that we're the right team to do it and gathering the right people for us to help us through that is really important. So that's where we came to that valuation. And then to answer
so they pulled it out of the air, basically, right? So, which is what all this early stage
I got the
stuff
math
does.
here.
That's
No,
all right.
no. And then to answer your question on the revenue sharing, so right now it can look a lot like just giving them money from the actual pickup cost. Ultimately, we are working to get it included into the lease agreement, where there'd be a monthly fee per tenant, and then they'd be taking money off the top of that monthly fee. So similar to what you're seeing in like the package delivery space, for example.
Josh, 6 years, $29 million in annual revenue in that time frame. Not super interesting, right? If you're going to scale this business, it's got to go national, right? Unit economics are super important. Sounds like primarily you're in the local area here. How do you think about the unit economics of the business in this metropolitan area? And then how do you think about the path to scaling more broadly and geographically?
It's a good question, because when we're modeling out these scenarios, we base everything off of our early pilots, knowing that it would be a little bit more conservative and lower so that we could hedge our bet in the right direction. But knowing that when we hit certain inflection points, we can really hyperscale and open up new revenue opportunities as we sell top down rather than bottoms up to property managers. But ultimately, when looking at the numbers, the one thing that got us most excited is we've been in Philly for a while. We did a test in Atlanta where we did Techstars with Habitat for Humanity, where we helped take over some of their overflow pickup. And we had 3 times as many pickups in that area, which is an urban sprawl and makes it actually much logistically easier for us. And then we just had organic outreach coming from that market, plus the South Florida market and Chicago. So we know there's a lot of opportunity there, especially in those cities where there's a lot more multifamily communities that are going to be getting built over the next several years.
I think unit economics, though, what is it? Is it density of pickups over a period of time? Is it the size of the apartment buildings? Is it the type of tenants? What is it that actually gives you confidence in the unit economics before you scale?
That's a good question. So it's the size of apartment buildings and the annual turnover rate. So that's what will get us the most usage. So right now our average building has a little over 300 units, but our target for our early adopters, as we're considering them, is the Class A multifamily market. Ideally, we'd like over 250 units to get to the numbers, because in our first pilot, we got about 11% of the movers with no marketing and just slapping it in the building. So we based our numbers off of that. But our target is really any Class A building over 100 units. And there's a little over 56,000 across the country.
This is what makes this difficult. There's just limited time.
Yep, that's right.
So there's an ask. He was looking to raise 750. He's got 285 already closed. So there's 465 available. He was asking for a 5% cap and a 20% discount. Any interest?
I think your business is interesting. I haven't, I'm in the apartment business. I've not seen someone do this other than the 1-800-GOT-JUNK. I have an allergic reaction to your $5 million.
Yeah. I'm sorry?
An allergic reaction to your $5 million.
The $5 million, the valuation
What would
cap?
make the itching go down?
I'm itching. I'm thinking more 3.
I think based on where you are, the time you've put into it, the fact that I didn't understand how much you've proven this outside of Philadelphia. You said you did 1 test, but this is a local business right now. You don't know, we don't know if you have what it takes to scale a national business or a regional business. I would say that $5 million was evaluation in 2020. I would say the market is probably 3-ish right now.
I would agree with that.
And if that was where you were entertaining, I'd consider doing something.
Okay.
So to help Josh out, if it was $3 million, what would be your appetite potentially?
I would do $100,000 of the remaining money at $3 million.
You helped me with this because I'm torn. Yeah, I'm still just trying to figure out if there really is kind of a sell for these apartment unit owners, these landlords. David, you know this better than I do. It's new, it's different, and there's some other options out there. I'm a little confused that it's the Class A, high-end kind of stuff. But I guess if it's a couple $100 per, someone's like, oh, I got this coffee table, I got that, oh, that thing's got a broken leg, let me get it the hell out of here. Maybe I'll throw a couple $100 to you guys so I could potentially see that working. At 3, post money with that discount, I'll do 75. I'll let you be the lead on this because you know this stuff. So.
I'll come in for 50.
Okay.
So the question to you is, you know, you've got 225, which is about halfway to.
Man, Mark, you're fast with that math. Wow.
Yeah, I was impressed.
He was so good at Wharton. It was amazing.
Amazing. You can't see I'm using my toes as well as my fingers. But you'd have to change your ask. You know, you got 30 seconds. Say yes or no.
Well, you can give us different safe terms you've given other folks, and if they've got a most favored nation, you just bring them in at the same terms.
My question to you guys would be, what sort of value and insights do you think that you could help our team with as we look to grow this?
Well, you couldn't ask
I
for
own
more
25,000
insight.
apartments.
Wait, what
That
did
was
you
kind
say,
of the
David?
answer I was looking for.
Say that again, David.
I said I own 25,000 apartments.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's why he's the lead.
And we're
on
friends
this.
with David.
That's why he's the lead.
That's it.
And you guys are, yeah, I like that. That's a,
And, you know, there's some cachet to having somebody like that.
yeah.
He's the lead because I don't know Jack,
Or I have
but I'll throw
Sixers
money at the
tickets.
side. There we go. There we go. You better be.
I'll get my co-founder excited. I know that.
So we got to be
Yeah.
fair to everyone else. Yes or no?
Yeah, let's
Yes?
do it.
All
Yeah.
right. All right.
Yeah,
There you go.
let's do it.
Congratulations.
Plus, we like it.
Yeah.
Plus, we like it, baby.
Yeah. Josh, record us.
All right. I did a poor job as a moderator there. I let us go 2 minutes over, but we'll do better. So now I'd like to welcome to the stage our second presenting entrepreneur today, Fashion Kind, Nina Farron.
We gotta ditch these plastic bottles. Okay. Awesome, wonderful. Would the presentation be going up on the screen? Perfect. Well, thank you all so much for being here. And thank you all, some familiar faces. I'm Nina Farron, and I am the founder of Fashion Kind, the digital marketplace for conscious consumption. I'd like you to meet Lucia. Lucia is one of 3,500 artisans we help support at Fashion Kind. Like 80% of these artisans, she is the primary breadwinner in her household. So we don't just support Lucia, we also support her family. In fact, we help support over 13,000 individuals across 20 countries around the globe. But we are only barely scratching the surface because there are literally millions of artisans just like Lucia around the world who are creating incredible products but remain undiscovered and underserved. Now I'd like you to meet Catherine. She's 31 years old and has an annual household income of over $150,000. Catherine loves fashion. It's part of her identity. She prioritizes unique pieces that set her apart and have a story behind them. Speaking of which, the story behind this dress that she's wearing on this slide is that it's the same dress Lucia was making on the slide prior. We already have 3,000 customers like Catherine, but again, we are only barely scratching the surface because there are literally millions of millennial and Gen Z consumers like Catherine in the United States alone. But here's the thing. There are millions of artisans like Lucia creating incredible products, and millions of consumers like Catherine who overwhelmingly prioritize their personal style and positive impact. But these two groups can't find each other because it is way too difficult to source, sell, and shop sustainably. Behind this problem lies a significant opportunity. The personal luxury goods market is projected to surpass $380 billion by 2025, driven entirely by millennials and Gen Z, consumers who want to shop online, sustainably, and from brands they trust. We created Fashion Kind to unlock this opportunity. We are the digital marketplace for conscious consumption, starting with luxury fashion. We are laser focused in bringing together artisans like Lucia and consumers like Catherine, and because it's our authentic focus, we're trusted by these artisans and consumers alike. And clearly, what we're doing is working. As a two-sided inventory-less marketplace, we've achieved a cumulative GMV of over $2 million while maintaining gross margins of over 40%. That's over 2x that of the competition, and an AOV over 550. Now we're at an inflection point and we're ready for growth. We're poised for growth because we've built a community of over 80,000 across email and social media, and we've already converted over 4% of these nearly entirely organically, because these consumers love the hyper-personalized service we provide, the exclusive access to designers and collections that they can't find elsewhere, and being part of the community that we're building. And we're poised for growth because we have a robust pipeline of designers. Currently, our database is over 485 designers. That translates to tens of thousands of artisans underlying, and that number grows every day. We actually can't get designers on our platform fast enough, and sourcing has primarily become inbound. Designers seek us out because we provide access to entirely new markets, we establish their credibility, and we share and supercharge their stories. But what makes Fashion Kind so special? Our secret sauce is our Kind Code, our differentiated sourcing process that I developed based on my experience as an impact investment specialist and the founder of the impact investing platform at Glenmead. Unlike others in the market, we are dedicated to assessing our suppliers according to the two primary dimensions that millennials and Gen Z demand: design and impact. And as we grow, our Kind Code will evolve into a proprietary algorithm that marries personal style with personal values for the very first time. The current landscape is crowded when it comes to design or impact, but not when it comes to both. Our singular focus on the intersection of design and impact uniquely positions us to be wildly successful, and that's something that doesn't require significant market penetration. We've built Fashion Kind to facilitate on-demand production and drop shipping instead of holding inventory on hand, significantly reducing balance sheet risk. As a result, FashionKind.com, our B2C digital marketplace and core business, is capital efficient while maintaining sound unit economics. We retain a minimum 40% gross margin from every purchase made on our site and have 2 additional revenue opportunities: B2C brick and mortar strategic partnerships such as Four Seasons, and B2B2C corporate gifting, for which we've already signed contracts with clients such as Whirlpool and Wharton's Baker Retailing Center. So we've established the product, we've demonstrated product market fit, and now we're ready to scale. Our vision is big, and let's face it, forecasts are never exactly right, even if they are bottom-up, built on realized data. We are confident that significant growth is realistic as we expand into new geographies such as Asia, the Middle East, and Europe, and into new categories such as men's, children's, beauty, and home. Fashion Kind will be the digital marketplace for conscious consumption across all categories and all geographies. We also believe in this growth because of the team behind it. I'm a repeat social entrepreneur. In 2008, I launched a humanitarian fashion brand on UPenn's campus, and as I mentioned earlier, I later founded the impact investing platform at Glenmead here in Philadelphia. My co-founder, Sophia Bush, is a prominent actor and activist amongst millennials and Gen Z, and also a repeat social entrepreneur. Her social media platforms give us access to tens of millions of her fans, which we will strategically use to drive down CAC. And our creative director, Derek Morris, built Style.com, which was acquired by Farfetch, and has over 2 decades of experience at designing an art and creative direction across design houses and publication houses such as Ralph Lauren and Condé Nast. And that brings me to you. We are at an inflection point. We've built our product, we've demonstrated product market fit, and now we're ready to scale. And so we're raising a $2 million seed round to directly fuel this growth. We have 700,000 soft circled already and are looking to close an additional 500,000 by the end of the year, which we're in active conversations about. We are intentionally building Fashion Kind for acquisition. Acquisitions in our space are happening and at high multiples because existing players are eager to get in front of millennial and Gen Z consumers. Farfetch, the largest luxury retailer, has put out a statement that by 2030, 100% of their products on their platform will be sustainable. How have they achieved similar goals in the past? They've acquired specialists in their respective spaces. We are uniquely positioned to be an acquisition target just like this, and we have relationships already with these potential acquirers. At Fashion Kind, we are building the digital marketplace for conscious consumption, millennials and Gen Z demand. We've built the product, we've demonstrated product market fit, we have a healthy pipeline of both demand and supply, and now we're ready to take this to the next level. So I invite you to join us in building the digital marketplace of the future, because the future is indeed kind.
Nina, that was great. Could you just quickly walk me through the 80,000 community and the 4% conversion? I don't really
Yeah, sure,
understand.
absolutely. So over our email newsletter as well as our social media followings, we have about 80,000 that we've amassed, and of those we've converted about 4% into customers. So roughly 3,000, a little more than 3,000 customers.
Thank you.
And again, that was primarily organically.
Over what time frame?
That was over 3 years.
So you had in your B2B2C Whirlpool. Okay.
How does it work?
Yeah, explain that to me.
Yes, sure. So primarily, it actually it was very organic that it came to us. Whirlpool approached us, and then Baker Retailing Center we had discussions with as well. It's for corporations who have a big budget for gifting every year, whether it's to their clients or their highest performing employees, so on and so forth. And they're very sick of just having the same kind of tchotchkes, branded water bottles and pens and so on and so forth, and are also getting pressured from their employees and clients to be more sustainable. And so they came to us for some exclusive gifting opportunities for their clients.
Gotcha. So trace a dollar for me coming from the craftsperson.
Yep.
Through the designer, which sounds like a broker to me, to the final kind of consumer, and where Fashion Kind is in that mix and their cut of that dollar.
Sure, definitely. So I'll kind of start at the consumer side of it. When an order is placed, say it's for $100 or so, it's placed on Fashion Kind's website. Our systems have been synced to automatically send a notification to the designer. I'll back up a little bit because I think sometimes you hear artisan and designer and not sure what the difference is. So we have 55 designers on our platform. Under these designers, they are experts on the ground who are creating products and designing products. They work with local artisan communities. That's how we're able to very efficiently get onboard designers and all of these artisans, because we work just specifically with the designers. So 55 designers, that equates to 3,500 artisans based on our vetting process. We're therefore able to be much more efficient with how we use our capital and onboard designers to reach more artisans without reaching them individually. When an order is placed, our systems sync with existing inventory levels and facilitate on-demand production as well. Depending on what's in the basket, a notification will be sent to the respective designer. That designer, if that item is already in place or in stock and in inventory, they'll send it directly to our customer. We retain 40% of exactly what the customer paid. That is a little less than the traditional wholesale retail model, in which a retailer would be purchasing wholesale, which is about a 40-60 split. But the designer is making the same in terms of the wholesale value that they would make if they were working with a retailer. In fact, they're making more at Fashion Kind.
And who's holding the inventory, if anyone?
Yes, so that's the designers that are holding the inventory. We do not have the inventory on our balance sheet risk.
And what are the designers making out of this? That they're going to hold that inventory, take that risk, customs, whatever, all those
costs? So we
costs.
follow the traditional pricing structure. So when an item is being priced for a designer, the wholesale value is typically 2x their costs at least. And then if they're selling to a wholesaler, they then only get that 2x cost. For us, they actually get more because we only take 40% instead of 60%. And many of them may be active in their own local communities, but they really can't reach the United States or other big markets. And so they look to Fashion Kind to bring them into these markets. And that's a lot of the value that we provide them, markets that they couldn't access on their own.
How about the other side of the deal here? So how do you get the customers, and what's the cost to acquire the customers?
Yep, so right now it's been entirely organic. We haven't done paid digital. We did one paid digital test in 2021, and that was exclusively on Meta, and that was over a 3x ROAS. The way that we now are acquiring customers are through social media and word of mouth. Our existing customers Typically, we have a customer like Catherine. Once she finds us, she not only tells her friends, but she tells her mom and she tells her little sister. So that word of mouth has been very powerful for us. That said, we've been testing some other acquisition strategies, such as a brick and mortar partnership with Auberge Resorts, which was very low risk, just a pure revenue share model, no overhead or costs for us or even inventory costs for us. And we realized that that's a great top of the funnel acquisition strategy, but our dollars are better spent in doing paid digital to acquire these customers.
So do you have a sense of what that cost is going to be per additional
Yeah,
dollar
so
of
what we've
revenue?
done in our models, and I'm happy to walk through you on this, we've built in about $210 to acquire a customer, which we believe is more than we will actually have to pay based on what we're seeing with the industry comps. But we wanted to be conservative there, and we actually, over time, as we expand outside of our kind of target audience, we do have a CAGR in there of how it might increase over time, which naturally CAC will.
Do you know what kind of gross you're seeing from that individual customer?
Pardon me?
What kind of gross revenue are you seeing from that customer? What are they buying?
So the LTV, or it's above 1,000. On average, it's about 1,500. That said, with customers like Catherine, who are very engaged, that's upward of 10,000.
So that's like a 15% acquisition cost,
Yeah.
if I'm doing the math correctly, for the lifetime value. That's higher than I thought you were going to say, quite honestly. What's the plan to lower that? I would hope there'd be some operational leverage here over time, but what's that plan?
Yep, definitely. So we're not just focused on the paid digital or acquisition. One benefit of having Sophia Bush, the actress, on our team is that she has a great idea in terms of how we can leverage her to acquire customers. That will be the launch of an ambassador program, leveraging her network of exclusive high-powered women, goes beyond the traditional influencer program that traditional fashion brands have. That will enable us to tap into these very, very influential women across industries to get in front of customers in a much more cost-effective way. That said, again, that 210, we haven't been in the market in the last 6 months and paid digital. We do expect that to be lower based on what we're seeing with industry comps, but we wanted to be conservative in our projections.
You know, let's get into some of the financials for a second. So you
Yep.
said you're looking for $2 million. You've
Yep.
got, I thought it was 35% that's already soft circled.
Yep.
It's 700. So are you looking for 500? Or are you looking at 1.3? You know, what
Well,
is
let's
your-
be honest, I'm looking for 1.3.
Okay.
But, you know, wanting to really get to the end of the year with closing at least another 500, but I'm open to, look, what I'm doing is we now have built everything and we know what works. So now we're exclusively fueling growth, so I'm ready to get going. So I'm willing to do the full 1.3 as
And
well.
then 2 other quick questions. You showed the 2 million gets you 18 to 24 months of runway.
Yep.
What top line revenue is required
Yep.
to support that runway?
Yep. For 2024, we're projecting roughly about 8 million. And again, these projections, I'm happy to share them with you. Our model has been built based on realized data and based on unit economic CAGR changes, whether for the better or for the worse, so we can always stress test that. We're looking at AOV, repeat customer rate, and then CAC in terms of 3 major unit economics. 8 million about in 2024, and then in 2025, closer to about 15 or so. We will have our first profitable quarter in the third quarter of 2025 is what we're looking at right now.
2025. And what are the terms of the money that you're asking for?
Right now, the 700,000, David, brace yourself, the 700,000 has been soft circled according to a safe with a $10 million post-money valuation cap. I know, but listen, I'm here to have a conversation.
Sure.
This is a huge opportunity. We're ready to do it, and you're not funding the product or testing, you're funding growth. So let's do it. I mean, happy to answer other questions.
Yeah, I have
yeah.
one more. Because when you think about growth,
Yeah.
what are the metrics that you're most focused on? Is it getting that 80,000 community to 800,000? Is it a greater conversion rate? The All version, the Four Seasons things are great. I think they're probably distractions, though.
I agree.
Yep. We learned that this year.
Yeah.
However, there are different, more short-term pop-ups or trunk shows is what we found to be much more better, but leveraging their communities still.
But when you think about 25, like what's the metric that you're like, wow, I'm on track besides the pure financial?
Yep. We're really focused on repeat customer rate. really focused on igniting those customers that we have that love us, that as they go through different life moments, they want Fashion Kind to be part of them when they buy a house, when they have kids. So being part of capitalizing and growing with our women. That said, it is a volume game. You know, dollars you put in are dollars that you will get out, given the business model that we have. But we are very laser focused on retaining the customers that we already have in the door.
So if Sophia Bush, you know, says something ridiculous, you know, and everyone decides to cancel her,
yeah.
How are you going to get there?
People don't come to us because of Sophia Bush or only because of Sophia Bush. They come to us because they love that they can find something that they can't find elsewhere. They won't show up to an event or a party wearing exactly what 3 other people are wearing, and that it has a beautiful story behind it, and that we have a community that we're building. One big piece of what we're going to be doing is a content strategy, bringing these behind the scenes images and videos from every one of our makers that are doing amazing things around the world. That authenticity is not something that can be purchased by, for instance, if you're thinking about competitors, like existing retailers, they just can't do it. And when it comes to Sophia Bush, yes, that's how some people find us, but it's not why people stay.
Can I ask you a question about the designers? You see, you have 35 right now?
55.
Excuse
Well,
me.
we'll have 60 by next week.
How big is that ecosystem? And I think a real important part here, right, is
Yep.
being able to have enough product to
Yeah.
keep this vibrant. How do you grow that?
Yep, so our potential designer database today has over 485 potential designers. That said, it literally grows every week because we're in this time where more designers are coming. Every week they're being created, you know, or we're discovering them. One way that we discover them proactively, for those that aren't coming inbound, is working with collectives on the ground, such as the Latin American Fashion Summit, Lagos Fashion Week, to be able to tap into these existing networks to access their designer network as well.
Gotcha. And what competency do you have on the team right now from a social media perspective? I wasn't seeing that in your team here.
I've done all our social media. I am not an expert, and I don't want to continue to do all of our social media because I think someone can do it a lot better. So one of our major hires will be, we have a few major hires. The majority of the funding will go directly towards marketing, but as well, the other kind of big trench there is talent to support those initiatives. One will be a director of marketing, under whom we'll have a director of social media. There's also a director of operations, director of growth marketing, and then e-commerce and merchandising as well.
So convince me that Etsy and Farfetch are acquirers and not competitors.
Sure, great question. I love this question. First of all, I welcome competition. There's a big enough pie for multiple people to have pieces, and it indicates demand. That said, I'll start with Farfetch, or I'll start with Etsy rather. We have been likened to a curated luxury version of Etsy in the sense that we work with makers around the world. That said, again, we are vetting them, curating them. It's a much better user experience, much more reliable products, but there is that breadth in terms of possibilities. They are not catering to our same individuals, to our same demographics. In fact, all of the acquisitions you saw that they've made recently are because they're not getting enough Gen Z or millennials to their platform, and so they're trying to acquire customers that will bring, or companies that will bring these types of consumers. For Farfetch, they have been around for a long time. They have a lot of money, but those two things actually work against them because they are specialists, or they are generalists. They are not known as specialists in this space or expert in this space, and that inevitably ruins any trust that consumers may have with them. And in fact, with Farfetch, they have acknowledged this, that you can't buy trust. You can't, make it, no matter how much money you have, it's just not authentic. And so when they've wanted to go into other categories in the past, such as beauty or sneakers, they've acquired experts in their respective areas, and that's how they believe, these big players, that's how they believe they can get into these areas and authentically attract and retain customers.
So I got to cut off the dialogue here.
Oh,
We've
sure.
got to keep things moving. I'm thinking Josh is thinking he should have started with a $10 million cash.
Can't wait to hear what
So
David
let's,
says.
Look, I'll jump in. So Nate, look, I think 10 million is too much.
Yep.
I think 8 million of revenue for next year is very aggressive from where you're coming off of this year. I think you're going to have to raise more money before you even come close to getting cash flow break even. I think you're going to need more money to continue to scale the business as it goes well, which means there's going to be dilution.
Yep.
If you can get to the right economics, I'm in for at least 250.
And what would those economics look like for you?
You tell me. What do you think?
What I'm
3
most
million
important-
cap with a 20% discount.
Pardon?
Is that a trend now? Is that the?
3 million cap with a 20% discount.
3 million cap, I mean, work with me here. Thinking about, I want to be
US,
incentivized
right?
to continue with this business, to continue building this business. What I've shown we can do with very little, and given that we have Sophia, who we really haven't tapped into, we have a strategic advantage that positions us to be very competitive when it comes to acquiring customers from a cost perspective. I don't think 3 million is fair to that.
Fair enough. Here's my couple concerns.
Yeah.
I love the vision.
Yep.
I'm concerned with the tactical implementation. There's a lot of moving parts here. Your cost of customer acquisition is high. Right now, your ability to sell into the market is a little fragile because it depends on some names that it's one channel right now. So that concerns me. That doesn't mean that I don't like the vision. I'm also concerned with the fulfillment piece and the logistics of that, with things coming from abroad and everything. So there's a lot of pieces here that it's great to talk about, but when it comes down to doing it, it takes a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of resources, and it never comes as quickly as you think. So I'm discounting your revenue by 50% at least.
Sure.
So 3 is low. 4.
Post money or pre-money?
It's all post money. Because we're only going to invest if we understand what we own.
Well, the 4 would be pre-money on the cap, the pre-money in the next round.
No, 4 million post money.
Who wants post money?
Post money cap. I want to know what
I
I'm
do
what
7
I'm, what I'm
post
buying.
money.
We're talking a safe, right? We're talking a safe note here? Yeah. So
And by the way, we've already shipped thousands of orders all around the world, primarily to the States. Happy to talk about the fulfillment and logistics, but we've shown we can do it, and I have confidence in our model about how we'll scale it that I'm happy to share with you.
Mark, you're better at math than I am. You've showed that year for years. I'm saying a 4 money post because I want to lock in what he's getting for his 250.
But do you think that's fair if we're raising 2 million, then
But the 2
how much
million,
am
we
I
own
giving
50,
away?
you're saying 2 million, we own 50% of the business on the next round?
Oh, so you're saying I'm being egregious?
No, I'm asking, is that what you're saying? Because typically it's
I think, look, it takes a lot to scale a
Someone
business
out
like
there
this.
thinks I'm being
It
egregious.
takes a lot to scale a business like this. You haven't done it before. Your team hasn't necessarily done it before. Many of us have done that. We've seen what it's like. We've seen the
and it's hard.
So it's hard, and you need people at the table. I own a large part of a logistics company.
Yep.
It's scaled to over $2 billion now. So, like, we can help you with this. So you should think about it not just as the financial investment and the dilution, but you need to think about what is the team and the money around the table that's going to get you to where you want this business.
Well, to help Nina, if you guys were able to get to round, and we got to do this quick, is there anyone else who would be interested, right? Because 250 might not be enough for her to change the change
Yeah,
the terms.
I'll do 100 on this for sure.
Okay, now
I'll do 50.
Okay.
Mark, do the math. Quick, come on, baby.
These guys can do it. 400.
Guys, I just wanted to give you perspective. I met Nina about 2 years ago, and she religiously sends me her quarterly update. And she doesn't give up. She works very hard. She identifies. The only reason I'm not in is I add zero value. I'm just a dumb real estate guy. But I will tell you that she's got.
Don't you want to diversify your
I'm
portfolio?
going to tell you she's got real hustle, real grit.
You couldn't give Sophia
got
Bush your
400,
Sixers
you got
tickets.
400.
Unless she can make Sixers jerseys. I don't know what else I can do.
Maybe Joel would like something
I'm
from
losing
the
control here.
All right.
We've got 400,000.
I was just giving an endorsement, so.
Give us a number back.
Thank you, David.
So
Nina, give us
what's
a
our
number back on
what's
the
our number
400,000.
400,000 total.
And how much do you need
Can
in
we get
total?
to the full? We need 1.3 in addition.
Right, and you were asking for 5 here?
We're asking for
And
5.
we're at 4? We're at 4?
We're
Can we get to
400,
5?
yeah.
Why don't we do this? I'll cap it out to get to the 500K.
Yeah, I'll work with you on that.
Okay, good. We'll split that.
So we'll give you 500K here, 5 million cap? Is that 5
I'll
million
do
post
7
money?
million post money.
Uh,
You want me to still be
6 and we're
in
done.
the game?
6 and we're done. And you'll be, as they say, safe.
I don't know. 7 is what I feel better about.
Going once.
This is
gonna do it.
one
You
stop.
can do
So
this.
remember this.
Twice.
Remember this, as an entrepreneur, you want to focus on running the business,
Yep.
not going around for money. Because right now,
All right.
you're spending all this time here, you could be
All
running
right,
your business.
so let's do it. Let's do it. Let's get this money in so we can grow this thing. So I'll gladly shake your hand.
6
All
flags.
right.
Though,
There we
David,
go.
I'm sad you're not coming in.
Great job.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Wow.
Mark, how much did I?
350, 300, Dan, 300. Rob said he split it with you. So, wow, it's 2 for 2. We're making it's a high bar for you, Dan. Let's welcome Dan from Impact Wrap.
Hello, Philly. How's everybody doing today? Good, all right. Last but not least, for sure. Lions, nice to meet you. I'm Dan Fraden. All right, so my name is Dan Fraden. I am founder and CEO of Impact Wrap. Impact Wrap is a pioneer and leader in connected fitness striking. So effectively, we make a dumb thing smart. We have a little fitness tracker that you'll see that goes on pretty much any type of punching bag. For me, my story brings together lots of decades of experience, marketing, advertising, technology, sales. For me, I've always wanted to have my own company and a blue ocean, really. So something, I don't want to make another cell phone, another pair of sunglasses. I want to make something different. And for me, oops, wrong way. This started back in 1993 in college, before my hair migrated from the top down to the face there. And I fell in love with martial arts. I also fell in love with fitness at the time. Fast forward to 2010, and I'm playing Dance Dance Revolution with my kids on Nintendo Wii. Has anybody played this in the past, right? So I was like, oh, I wonder if I could take this mat and put it around a bag and actually be able to track what I'm doing on a heavy bag. And I looked around to see if there was anything on the market, and there wasn't. So I did what most entrepreneurs do. I decided to build this myself in my garage. I cashed in my 401k, my life savings. I can tell you, my wife, who's sitting right there, was not happy, but she's much, much happier now where we've come. Because what we ended up finding out is that when I looked around at the market, every exercise modality has gone through some sort of digital, social evolution, revolution, really, except for punching a bag. And it's a big market. There's over 17 million group and home participants, almost 40,000 fitness gyms, and 15,000 martial arts schools. That's just in the US alone. We've sold to almost 40 countries already. It's all over the world. And it's also high growth. So if we just look at the US fitness striking technology market, by the end of this year, it's going to be almost $90 million. By 2028, it's going to be almost $500 million, which is over a 31% compound average or compound annual growth rate. We're very poised to take advantage of everything that's going to be blossoming in this industry. From our experience, we have over 240 gym studios. We're on 6 continents. I really want to get into Antarctica, if anybody knows any place down there. We have 2.4 million individual workouts under our belt, which is equivalent to over 320 years of platform use. Most importantly, we have 166,000 addressable platform users in our database. So these are people who've been exposed to our brand in one way or the other, or are currently working out on our platform. This is really key for monetization as we're moving along, because we've created a high household income audience that has not been created in the past. The problem that we solved is that there's no easy to install economic fitness tracking solution for working out on a heavy bag. If you don't have the metrics, motivation and engagement wanes. You can't find a treadmill on the market today that doesn't have some sort of display with performance metrics. Our solution, it's elegant, it's simple, it's a fitness tracker with the impact score. This is our proprietary metric. It's a blend of frequency, power, and speed. And it's become the Fahrenheit, the Newton of fitness striking. We can go on any type of bag. You can use any strike to hit. We have tons of motivational features, and of course, lots of different metrics, including heart rate integration. And finally, proudly made in the USA, just over the river in Burlington, New Jersey. It's not just a tracker, though. It's actually a whole platform. We have a server that goes above and connects to a TV, and you can show all the bags in these gyms. So we have gyms from 2 bags all the way up to 60-plus bags. We have the tracker that goes outside the strike zone, so you're not hitting that. And again, it can go on any type of bag with email and apps. But it's actually not just the first generation. We've gone through 3 generations, and this 3rd generation is over a year in. It's a full platform. We've got branded heart rate monitors and servers. We've got apps that are iOS and Android with video integration. We connect coaches with their members. So we actually provide that conduit to have that engagement, that personalized experience. Our software is easy to use for the staff. We have the calendar where all the classes just run automatically. It adds tons of efficiencies for the staff. And of course, we have data. Not only data can be used for engagement and motivation with the members, but more importantly, it's the monetization opportunity. Again, this is a high household income. We're not talking about amateur fighters or pro fighters. They have no money. It's people with real jobs that are out there. And we've already begun monetizing that. We're building out an Impact Wrap media audience platform, which now we can go against or activate against agencies, brands, and manufacturers. We know our system works because our members stay in gyms twice as long. This is a real gym of ours. They just celebrated 6 years down in Florida. Members stay longer because it's engaging and it motivates them. If you look at the competition, again, why we're doing so well in the market, we've got Fight Camp, we've got Corner, Strike Tech, and Punch Lab. They're basically all wearable, so you're just stuck just tracking your punches. You have 2 points of failure, lots of different problems with that. Our gym platform, heads over tail over Corner. We've actually taken a number of their gyms here in the US that are based out of the UK. We've got scalable content. Not only can we create the content in a scalable way, but our gyms become content creators as well, so we can scale creation. Open APIs, we're already integrated with Apple HealthKit. Google's equivalent of that. We've integrated with POSs and CRMs, and we're looking to integrate with Strava and others moving forward into next year. Lifetime, since 2017, $1.5 million. This is broken out, I'm sorry, I keep hitting this. This is broken out into SaaS, recurring revenue, and hardware revenue. So at first we were just a hardware company, and what we've done is we've built over time, and this is, by the way, this is our biggest quarter. We just sold 6 gyms yesterday, so that far one has gone up. This is my most important, my most proud slide here. This is what we're building. We're building a SaaS company. So total revenue SaaS revenue compared to total revenue continues to tick up. We're at 61%. We're going to end up hopefully by 70 by the end of this year. But I think we can take this up to 95% or higher. That creates more value for the company when you're looking for acquisition. And of course, you get the recurring revenue. You're not just selling one product at a time. What we're going to go into is this B2B subscription model. What this is and this is what we're here today, where we'll talk about the funding. $149 for these gyms, all in, hardware, software, everything. The interesting model, because average gym is 20 bags with 3 servers. In 6.6 months, we pay off the cost of goods sold. So the ROI is very, very quick. And we know gyms stay with us 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now we're going on 7 years with gyms since we first opened. I'm proud to say I have my very first gym is still here in Philadelphia. 10x in revenue or return. We become an economic and trend-proof model because our B2B is one-to-many. Every time we bring a gym on board, we get access to 200, 400 members. Those gyms become brand ambassadors for us. They become resellers, distributors, potentially content creators for us. That will lead us into the B2C. I think we heard before, like going into the general B2C market is scary. It's expensive. There's a lot of challenges here. We're going to do it smart. A, we're going to monetize the data from these members, and B, we're going to go after the gym members that are already part of our network. They're part of a gym, and we estimate we can convert 5% of them next year. Oops. Projections. So going into next year, really the key for us and for me is can we hit these gyms and the home users? The gyms, you're going to see how we're going to hit that number going into 2024 in a moment. And for the home users, that represents, for next year, 5% of our addressable database, being able to monetize them. The funding and use and return. So this is our hypothesis. The number one barrier of entry is the upfront cost. It's about $2,400 on average for a gym. They can look at case studies, they can talk to gym owners, like, oh, that's really good, I think it's gonna work. Still, it's $2,400 for a small business. That's why if we eliminate that, this will be huge, and we wanna test this out. This is what we're funding for today. 125 gyms, which would be 375 servers, 2,500 trackers. That's the cost of goods sold for us to buy and manufacture those, $123,000. But I need a little bit more than that. It's actually $250 for this ask for today. We have a seed round, we have a convertible note. We can talk about details about that. But we're gonna have marketing that we've already budgeted out, along with working capital to be able to fund the initiatives. The results out of all of that, once we get 125 gyms online, I know I can get probably 40 gyms within about a week because we're exclusive with I Love Kickboxing and a whole number of franchises that we can roll this out to. Once we get that up, it's $223,000 a year in annual revenue, plus adding in 50,000 new addressable members. Once we validate this, and nothing has to change, everything's already built, we've scaled everything, we've got everybody ready to go. Series A, that's what we're gonna go into early next year. And now that we have a formula and algorithm in order to go after these gyms, now we're gonna fund 1,000 gyms and then expand into the consumer space. Our leadership team, everybody brings decades of experience in their respective fields. Tom and Travis are actually gym owners of ours for multiple years. Natalie's a member of one of our gyms, and Sean's actually a head coach at one of our gyms in New Jersey. Our support team, Melissa here, just a shout out to Melissa, of course, because she runs our social media. Check us out, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, everywhere, you're going to see the momentum across the board, everything that we're doing. And our board, the board is set up here to really help us with our exit strategy. We have a 3 to 5 year strategy. We feel that we're an attractive target. We've already had a number of dirty offers over the years, but we have a SaaS and data revenue model that is not replicable in this industry right now. We have a unique high household income audience and data set and a high growth niche. So at the end of the day, in this industry, there is going to be a unicorn. Who's it going to be? I'm going to bet on Impact Wrap. Talk about perseverance. You mentioned perseverance. We've been doing this for a number of years. We're going to blow up the B2B and then conquer the B2C. Thank you.
Ask is 250.
Yes.
You have proposed terms on that ask?
Yes. Yeah.
What are those proposed
So we
terms?
have a convertible note. Right now we have a $3 million convertible note. It's been out since 2021. We have Ben Franklin that came on it originally. It is a 20% discount, $7.5 million value cap, 8% interest, and 10% in the third year.
7.5 cap.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Couple questions.
Yeah.
Those unit economics in terms of the cost for the gym, is that one bag? Is
No,
that
so it's
multiple bags? Help me understand, kind of how that breaks down. Give us a detail.
Sure. So every bag has these little trackers, runs off of 2 AA batteries in here. Each bag will get one of these trackers. These trackers are $99 right now, and then we have a server. The server is $249. If anybody familiar, these are Raspberry Pis, how we scaled this. It's eight bags every server, so it's a scalable solution. So if they have 15, 16 bags, they would have 2 servers and 16 of these. And that would be the upfront cost, and then they would have the subscription on top of that.
And that sensor is just sensing kind of the hit to the heavy bag?
Yeah,
there's not a sensor that's being hit or that can be broken or that kind of thing? I'm interested in that.
We've had these things in the field for years and years. I mean, the attrition rate is well below 1% on here because it sits outside of the strike zone. So that's really the key of kind of what we figured out, which was there's an accelerometer in here, and what we're measuring is the movement of this guy. It just so happens that it's stuck real tight to a bag, and it reinforces proper technique. So I'm not just hitting at the bag, I actually have to hit through the bag. And so our secret sauce has been the algorithm, pull the signal from the noise. That took 6 months of data collection, and it was 2.5 years for us to develop everything to get to market, and that was back in when we started 2014.
Dan, how are you doing that? How are you doing your software development?
I'm sorry?
How are you doing your software development?
Yeah, we have a unique relationship with Innova IT. So they're out of Slovenia, and they're a high-end creative engineering development company. I've been working with them pretty much from day one. We've put in $300,000, $400,000 in services with no cash, and they are equity partners with us. So they do a lot of high-end work in Europe with Adidas, Microsoft, but they can't talk about it. So they like Impact Wrap because they get to highlight us as a case study, and they do everything, even from the logo, the website, Firebase database, I mean everything. It's all set up through.
How about your hardware? I'm really surprised that you're seeing that kind of low attrition rate given the stress on this equipment.
I'm sorry, what?
Your hardware. How do you do your hardware development?
Yeah, well, I mean, again, this right now here is, I don't know, maybe 8th generation of the actual hardware. So if I rewind back to 2014 and before, I mean, this is why it's so good. It lasts.
See that.
It lasts because, yeah, you're not doing, again, the secret sauce is that you're sitting outside of the strike zone. My original invention was, yes, that's not covered under warranty.
Take it, right?
But that's the secret sauce. We make it simple. In fact, these are all off-the-shelf parts, so we can tool this. I've been bootstrapping the heck out of this, man. So we can make this into a better form factor, but the software, the firmware, and the hardware, we're locked in.
Dan, I'm an investor in a company, a beverage company that primarily tries to sell through gyms.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Okay.
What's the plan to get to 1,000 gyms? How do you think about that?
No, I think about it every day. So we have not only lists of gyms that we can contact, so it's both a digital and an analog play. So we can contact these people digitally through social media, different outlets, but we're also going to go analog. So sending direct mail. I've done direct mail. It actually works surprisingly well. And when we're talking about the acquisition costs, I could spend $30, $50 sending a package to a gym because we make that money back very, very quickly. I mean, we could probably even go up to $200 to $400 in acquisition because, again, the gyms stay with us. So unlike a beverage where it's like, okay, I'm making a couple bucks, but there's a million other beverages. We're making money for these companies. I mean, that's bottom line. Believe me, they would tell me to pound sand if this thing is not working for them. And it's bringing in real revenue. It's not like, oh, 30% more efficiencies and doing something. It's real. People are staying longer. And that's been like the biggest learning thing for mine, because I thought people who want to just sign up, and they do, but it's retention. It's a retention tool. And that's what all my owners keep telling me, and that's why it's such a powerful tool. That's why they're not leaving, because it's an opportunity cost to move in.
Dan, a couple questions.
Yeah.
First, the servers and the data. Do you get to bring all that data back into
Yes,
your
sir.
data store, and so you have ownership and be able to use that in some
Yes.
way? Okay.
Caveat being overseas in Europe, we would have to do a double
course.
opt-in
Yeah.
with GDPR. Yeah.
Makes sense. So I love an entrepreneur with a good personal story driving them. You're obviously super passionate about this area, but it can create some blind spots. So when you look at where you are in the business, what are the areas where you think you need the most help, and where you need to fill in maybe some of those blind spots that'll help you grow this business? Because 7 years, 1.5 million, that's not a business that's scaling or growing very quickly. Your projections look a little bit better, but what are those things that are going to help you, accelerate a lot more in the coming years than the performance over the last 7?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing right now is marketing and advertising dollars. So we can scale up inventory, we can scale up production, everything here local. We could even go overseas if we really wanted to. So Tom Kroll is our expert as a COO in doing that type of manufacturing. So from my perspective, it's scaling up the marketing and the sales. We have already in place to be able to scale the fulfillment. Support is minimum. Of course, we'll have to have some support folks, but the reliability of the system is great. I mean, I've got gyms, we've got, 11 gyms in Singapore, and I'm not up all night, trying to figure out what's going on with these gyms. So once they're up and running, it's months at a time. Sometimes we even have to deal with them. So from my standpoint, it's getting the funding to be able to reduce or eliminate all the no's. Because once we get into these gyms, we just get into these gyms, and the competition will come, and we need to, once we have market share, again, the opportunity cost for a gym to move it. As long as we don't fuck it up, we're going to keep their business.
I'm just interested in, I'm interested in how you take down the market that you're projecting. If I remember the numbers going to just under 300 to nearly 900 to 2,500 gyms, that's a 300% growth rate on an annualized perspective. Help me understand tactically how you're going to do that. I want to understand kind of that sales model and that pipeline model, because to your point, it's been 7 years and you've gotten some good cash to do that, and you still, from a hockey stick perspective, you're still kind of in this area.
Well, that's the thing. I haven't been able, we get the money in and we scrape and we get as much done as we can with those funds. So we got the most injection 2 years ago in 2021. Before that, it was just me. So we have the whole team now because of the investment.
So who's selling? Who in your team is selling it?
Travis
what happens on a weekly basis? Like, how do they develop a pipeline?
Sure. So we get leads in a number of different ways right now. Right now, it's a lot of organic. We do very little advertising, and we get recommendations, referrals. We've built this business on that. In social media, it's a small community. And when something works in this community for these gym owners, it goes around very quickly. So we just need to be able to amplify that. From a lead comes in, we immediately, it either comes a number of different channels. It can be Facebook as well. Gets funneled to Travis Tilton, who is our VP of Sales. He'll now make an initial call with them, scope out everything, and we either do a full demo, or at that time, a lot of times they want to buy at that moment. So from there, then it goes into our fulfillment. We've got systems and processes set up that also triggers things on our back end for the fulfillment, because we need some setup files and some other things, and then the packets get shipped out. It's effectively plug and play when the gyms receive it. So it's very little what they need to do. Now, moving forward into next year, to your point of scaling it, we can eliminate a whole vast number of the setup steps by doing it self-serve with the gyms. So we're going to be moving to a model as we start to ramp all this stuff up, where a gym, I can just go to the Impact Wrap website, I can see how many bags I have, it'll automatically figure out the servers, and you just complete it, you sign the contract there, and then we can have our fulfillment. It will be just pick and pack, because you can go on the shelves and you can just pick up all the parts. Everything gets shipped over to the gym. The gym now has all the instructions, videos, we have stuff already created, and then they can go ahead and they set up the whole system. So that's how 125, this is starting to set up all of that automation to go into 1,000 gyms and beyond that.
What's the utilization? So if you look at the units that are deployed today, maybe you break it into home versus gym, how do you measure utilization? Are they being utilized, or are they getting deployed and then sort of sitting dormant?
The bags or the trackers?
The
system?
the actual sensors.
That's a good question. I don't know if I have the actual utilization numbers on that, but we can certainly run that. But vast majority of the gyms, I mean, we run classes every single day. I mean, it's a some places are doing 24/7. They run classes.
Where are you at with the notes you have to date in terms of your burn rate on that? What's left? And 250 seems incrementally small.
It does,
in terms of to get you where you need to get. And am I correct in assuming this is kind of a down round based on kind of where you've been initially compared to where you're at now with growth of the company?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I want to go into the Series A with a proven model that we can build out quickly and scale that. That brings up the valuation. That's why I want to sneak this little 125 gym into this. I already have a commitment from we have a gym owner who just bought for 5 gyms. He wants to come in already at 125. I got a verbal 2 days ago, so I don't know if it's, until it's there. But it is low. I don't want, because I want to go into the Series A. The Series A will be probably $8 to $12 million in order for us to really scale this. But I want to be able to prove this model out with what we have right now.
So just to help me understand the timing, because we're going. When would you predict being ready to do a Series A? Like just time-wise?
The end of January 2024. We already have a
end of January 2024, 3 months from now.
Yes. Well, I should say probably February.
Are we talking January 2024?
No, 3 months
saying
from now.
a year, 3 months from
90
now,
days.
you're
3
saying.
months from now.
So this is
Three
kind of a
to,
bridge.
I'm sorry, 3 to 4 months, I should say.
What's going to change over this 3 to 4 months that says you couldn't do that valuation at Series A right now?
It's proving out this model here, because we're also going to be proving out the data monetization. So we're working with a company to monetize the member database right now. So I want to be able to set that up. I want to be able to have this, hey, I can blow this out with a subscription model. Then I go into the Series A, and then we have a lot more evidence that this is going to work. Otherwise, I'm saying, hey.
How long does 250K get you, runway-wise?
I'm sustainable now. So,
How much?
He said
we're sustainable now. So we've reached break even. I don't know, last year was like we were down every month 20 grand. Earlier this year it was 10 grand. And now we're at basically break even. So in terms of runway, I can grind this thing out, man. But I don't want to. I want to accelerate this thing because the competition is going to be.
So you're looking to raise to 250. You maybe have 125
Yes.
circled. You're not sure if it's positive or yet. And this is getting added to an existing convertible note that has $3 million on it.
Yes, including Ben Franklin Technology Partners on it.
So say that again, Mark. I'm sorry.
There's a lot of echo. This is getting added to an existing convertible note that I guess Ben Franklin led that has $3 million total raised, right?
No, it's a $3 million convertible note. We've raised.
Convertible note.
Correct. Yeah, we raised, I guess, in cash about 600,000.
Oh, 600,000.
300,000 in services.
And is there a discount? And what's
There's a 20% discount.
Rate? Say again.
20% discount.
And the rate, interest rate?
8% for the first 2 years and 10 on the third option.
Any interest?
I really like this. I'm concerned with execution.
Okay.
I mean, I want to give you advice and counsel as well. And I have concerns kind of basically on this small additional ask. And there's all kinds of culture in these things, and there's interest rates and everything. But kind of why this incremental jump in investment is something where you have to go outside of your initial investors right now based on kind of where you've gone with them historically. Not that that doesn't mean there's something good there, but I'm just giving you my concerns as an investor. Like, why is Ben Franklin not throwing another 250 in here or something like that?
They've already expressed interest. So this round here, if we can get 125, they're interested in matching that. But they would prefer to us to go over that one-to-one match. So that we have already contacted them, they're interested as well, yes.
So,
because
so
again, it's
for
right
a partner
sizing.
or a greater fool, one of them.
This is kind of a different round, but I mean, so is there interest in partaking?
Yeah, again, I like the business. I really do. I'm just a little concerned on the tactical implementation at this point, so I'm out at this point, but I do like the business.
You can always follow up off stage, but for now, you're out. Anyone interested?
Dan, this is it's very relatable. I think you're doing a great thing. I think where I would go is just really think about where you want the business to go from a scale perspective and sort of that business mindset to get you there. I think all of us are looking for a logical story that ties together, that we can be part of that journey and sort of gets to these different, important waypoints along the way. And I think that the next 3 to 6 months just feels like it's really uncertain on what that leads to.
Dan, what I'm hearing is a potential maybe, so I think we'll make sure you guys get each other's contact information. But it's tough to do in 20 minutes, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good job, Dan. Before everyone leaves, just wait for 2 minutes, 2 minutes. First, let's give a big round of applause for all of our entrepreneurs today. Two of them successfully navigated the line raise, or at least get verbal commitments for $725,000 in an hour. That's pretty good, so that's great. Thank you, Lions. Before we leave, just a couple of closing remarks. First, I want to welcome Paul. Paul is the managing partner of RSM. Paul?
Thank you, Mark, and wow, what another great event, and phenomenal to be here. As Dean mentioned, we've been sponsoring this along with Cozen since inception, and Dean, to see it go from the 10 million you got almost to 11 million, phenomenal job by all the presenters. And Dean, to you and your team for this great event, again, for your investment in driving capital and opportunity in the Mid-Atlantic region is greatly appreciated by us all. So thank you, and have a great time this evening.
Every angle on the part. Yeah, it was terrible.